Hello, folks, and welcome back. We are once again looking at some Pokemon VGC games. This is the Masters Top 16 round at the San Antonio Regional Championships that took place just a few days ago in my world, or, well, literally yesterday in my world. Top 16 round here. We're going to go ahead and switch over to the video. So we have Jackson Ferris versus Dawei C in the Masters Top 16. Now, you got a very brief glimpse at some of their accomplishments. Both these players have seen quite a bit of success. Now, the teams are both interesting, very interesting. We have Zacian Regidrago, which has been a very, not as popular as the other restricted Pokemon. Zacian as well has not always been paired with Regidrago, but Ghost type Regidrago, or Ghost Terra Regidrago, Ground Terra Zacian, these two have kind of played off each other a decent amount over the course of Regulation G. And then we have an otherwise fairly standard cast of supporting Pokemon: Urshifu Rapid Strike, Ogerpon Hearthflame, a Tornadus Incarnate with a Covert Cloak, and a Farigiraf with Safety Goggles. You have two options for speeds here. You have Tailwind as well as Trick Room. Makes things a little bit more versatile, gives you more options. Dragon Energy Regidrago can put in some absolute work against things that are trying to take out your Zacian, and Zacian vice versa can deal pretty effectively with the fairies and dragons that are fairies, dragons, and steel types, or sorry, fairy, dragons, and ice types that are going to be trying to play against your Regidrago. Grass type Urshifu Rapid Strike, this time with a Choice Band. It's a defensive Terra with a very offensive Urshifu. Again, we're seeing that grass Terra Urshifu become more and more popular. Dawei C over here on this side, this is a stall team with a lot of firepower. You have Dondozo and Ting Lu, Sand Tomb Ting Lu with Rocky Helmet, Ruination, Protect, Stealth Rock. This thing is built to tank and to chip away at your opponents. Dondozo has Wave Crash, Yawn, Fisher. There is no Tatsugiri to hop in as commander here. This thing has leftovers and is built to just be pure bulk. Calyrex Shadow Rider with a Terra Dark is an interesting Terra type. We see all sorts of different Terra types. There was that Terra Fairy Draining Kiss set that was popular for a while. It seems to have fallen out of favor. And then we have another Ogerpon Hearthflame, and this time it's an Urshifu Single Strike. This is a Terra Dark Urshifu. This one's going in on the offense. Wicked Blow. A Terra Dark Wicked Blow is going to be doing some damage. And then Whimsicott has that Tailwind, Helping Hand, Encore, and Moonblast. While this team does not have a Trick Room mode, it doesn't mind being in Trick Room. I would guess Ting Lu and Dondozo aren't the fastest things on the planet, but Calyrex Shadow Rider, if the stall tactics don't work out, as well as the Urshifu Single Strike, can deal absolutely massive damage. And we're also seeing a very, very high pick rate for Ogerpon Hearthflame here. All of the Ogerpons, except really kind of the base Ogerpon, the grass Ogerpon, the Teal Mask, are increasingly popular. Hearthflame right now at this tournament seems to be the most popular. Wellspring was pretty popular for a while. The rock type one has been kind of fluctuating in use, but is overall decently popular. But Hearthflame just seems to be the move. Now, we're getting into game one here. Dawei sends out that Hearthflame Ogerpon along with a Whimsicott, and Jackson Ferris sends out the aggro mode. Zacian plus Urshifu Rapid Strike. This is a ton of physical damage on the board. Zacian gets its Intrepid Sword buff. This is the first time it's on the field, so it gets that attack stat boost. If you're Dawei, you have a couple options. You can try to set up Tailwind here. Whimsicott should be essentially good to go on that, although this Hearthflame Ogerpon doesn't really like standing in front of these two, Zacian and Urshifu. The damage could be pretty effective into that slot. Now, if you're Dawei, you might also switch. You might want to get reposition here, because Jackson is going to be able to put in a ton of damage. We see the Terra Ground come through from the Zacian already. We saw that there's a Terra Blast on this. That can also deal some pretty good damage to the Ogerpon. Tailwind comes out. Dawei getting things set up, wants to have some type of speed control here, hopefully to outspeed some of these things. The Ivy Cudgel comes out. It will be resisted, but it still does 130 damage. It does probably about 80% to that ground type Zacian. Behemoth Blade comes out. Whimsicott goes down. That is going to give Dawei a safe switch in. And the Surging Strikes comes through. This Hearthflame Ogerpon is not going to like this. It looks like it could survive. It's going to be very, very close. If it does, honestly, I don't know if Dawei is going to like that more or not. But hey, it's alive. It's sitting on about 2 HP here. Tailwind is up, and we saw that Hearthflame Ogerpon is going to be moving faster than both the Zacian and the Urshifu. Urshifu cannot switch to Aqua Jet. It is choice banded, and now we have this Calyrex Shadow Rider here with a very, very low Zacian and an Urshifu that might just get obliterated by a Horn Leech if there's something like that on the Ogerpon Hearthflame. I don't remember exactly what the set was, but I saw like 3 different grass moves. I'm assuming either Power Whip or Horn Leech is one of those moves. A Horn Leech here could go really, really hard, healing up this Ogerpon Hearthflame and giving it some additional survivability. Now, Dawei, there could potentially be a helping hand here. Astral Barrage is your main thing you're worried about right now if you are Jackson. The Tailwind is up. This Calyrex is going to be going first. It's going to be getting at least 1 attack off. And it looks like Jackson has decided to bring in the Regidrago. Terrestrialization is coming out for Dawei. I wonder if this is going to be... Yeah, this is going to be the Ogerpon Hearthflame. Putting it into Terrafire, giving it a little bit more of an offensive boost here. And this is going to be a pretty hefty Ivy Cudgel coming out, I imagine. Yeah, along with being being terrestrialized into the fire type, getting that fire type or getting that attack boost thanks to the embody aspect. Astral Barrage comes out. Regidrago is going to take a pretty big chunk here. This horse is doing the absolute most. Regidrago goes low, down to 69. I don't think if you are Dawei, you target into the Zacian because either it's going to protect and survive or it's not going to protect and it's going to die. Ivy Cudgel comes through into the Regidrago and it goes down. And Dawei is essentially in the exact same position. However, if Jackson brings this Urshifu back in, Aqua Jets can come out and start doing some significant damage here. That said, Tailwind is still up for Dawei, and an Astral Barrage, now at +1, is going to be doing some work. I don't know if Urshifu wants to even try to deal with that. You can see Jackson here considering trying to figure out what the best course of action is. Doesn't want to bring the Urshifu in yet. Instead, here comes the Tornadus. So there is going to be a Prankster Tailwind if they so choose, or a potentially a Rain Dance if necessary. But that said, it would not matter too much against this Astral Barrage. The question now is, does this Zacian outspeed Shadow Rider Calyrex? Is this a bulkier Calyrex? Is it one where Dawei has kind of manipulated the speed so that it outspeeds in Tailwind, but isn't max speed? Can the Zacian outspeed it? That is the question, because there is a world where Jackson's 2 Pokemon here just get deleted once again. Tailwind comes out. We know this Zacian is not going to be using Protect again, at least a second time in a row, but the Psychic comes through. The Shadow Rider is still faster. Zacian goes down. And now Hearthflame Ogerpon gets to fire off another attack. There is another boost for this Calyrex Shadow Rider. It is at +2 now with that Grim Neigh. And Dawei is in a phenomenal spot. She wisely sacrificed that Whimsicott at the start to get a Tailwind set up, to get a fresh switch, a fresh safe switch in on this Calyrex Shadow Rider. We aren't even going to have to see Dawei's 4th Pokemon, I imagine. She has done a phenomenal job in this game. Urshifu comes in. At the very least, Jackson can Aqua Jet, take out this Ogerpon Hearthflame in one last act of vengeance here. The Surging Strikes instead is going to come out onto the Calyrex Shadow Rider, although I'm going to be honest, I don't know if that's going to matter. The Follow Me is used by the Hearthflame Ogerpon, just making sure that there is no potential threat. And this is a +2 boosted stab Psychic into a fighting type Urshifu. And that is game 1 in the books, going to Dawei C. That was a dominant game 1, to say the least, out of Dawei. When you're playing up against the Calyrex Shadow Rider, once it starts snowballing and getting those boosts, and if it can get Tailwind on the field and it's in a really safe spot with a redirector, it's just almost impossible to really try to stop it unless you have some type of priority Sucker Punch, some type of move along those lines to work around it. It's such a terrifying Pokemon that pumps out such massive damage. And when you pair it along with the physical attack, with the physical damage that Ogerpon Hearthflame provides, along with redirection, it's just such a hard spot to try to manage when you don't have any immediate speed control on your side of the field. So we're going to go ahead, get into game number 2 between Dawei C and Jackson Ferris. Dawei switches it up a little bit. Whimsicott and Urshifu is the lead against Jackson's Tornadus and Hearthflame Ogerpon of his own. Tailwind setters are both on the battlefield. We'll see if they go for a Tailwind war here. Like we said, Dawei was perfectly happy to sacrifice the Whimsicott in the previous game. This time, Dawei does not have redirection on the field. It is Jackson Ferris that does. This could come in pretty effective. It could be quite important. Now, this is not a rapid strike Urshifu. It is not nearly as scared of grass type attacks coming out of the Ogerpon. That single strike Wicked Blow can do a ton of damage. It can terrestrialize out of the fighting type, so it is not weak to Bleak Wind Storms from this Tornadus. And a Terra Dark Wicked Blow does major damage. That said, Dawei's Whimsicott goes ahead and moves. There is going to be no terrestrialization here. It is a Tailwind for a Tailwind. Now, again, these speeds here are going to be interesting. Ivy Cudgel comes out. It's going to do a good amount of damage. Takes Urshifu down below half, but the Wicked Blow comes out. It is, of course, as always, a critical hit. Tornadus goes down to 17 HP. Now, if you're Dawei, you know that your Urshifu cannot take another Ivy Cudgel. This Tornadus is also probably very, very fast. It's going to be difficult for this Urshifu to do much in this position. It can't terrestrialize out of surviving this time. Now, Whimsicott also has some other options. It can Encore. It can do a variety of things, but the Tornadus with the Covert Cloak gives it a little bit of immunity from some of the things that Whimsicott wants to do. Again, if we have any terrestrializations here, I'd be pretty surprised unless it's that Ogerpon Hearthflame going just trying to get the damage out as fast as possible. At the same time, Jackson might be wanting to switch that out throughout the course of the game, reposition, and actually we see the Follow Me here, guaranteeing that there is not going to be a KO onto the Tornadus. Essentially, this turn, the Encore comes out. You're not too mad about that if you are Jackson Ferris. You don't mind having to just let your Ogerpon Hearthflame tank things if you can have that left slot not do any damage. But unfortunately, the Urshifu avoids the attack. It stays alive. It's on the battlefield. A Wicked Blow comes out, and it takes Ogerpon down to about a quarter of its health. That miss here, Bleak Wind Storm, it's a great move, but it is fickle when you do not have the rain set up. Whimsicott now, it can do a little bit more damage. It can make some more things happen, but these two front Pokemon for both players are very, very low, almost identically low here. Now, if you're Jackson, you're still locked into that Follow Me from Hearthflame Ogerpon. You are just a Follow Me bot. You can't really apply any additional pressure. You're just kind of hoping that your Tornadus can make stuff happen. Unfortunately, that's not always going to be guaranteed. Dawei could switch out as well and make things a little bit more interesting. Jackson wants to get rid of that Encore, takes out the Hearthflame Ogerpon, brings in the Zacian. We're going to get that Intrepid Sword boost. Also, Zacian is just a beautiful Pokemon. I know it's busted, but it's so good. It looks so good. Urshifu goes for the Detect. Even if there's a Bleak Wind Storm that comes in, it ain't going to do anything. The Moonblast comes through. Tornadus goes down. That is the first KO of game 2 going over to Dawei's side. Now, Urshifu is still alive. It's going to be able to do a little bit more damage here. Tailwinds from both players, I believe, fade out next turn. Not this turn, but the next turn. So they're even speeds for now. Dawei could choose to try to save this Whimsicott for later in the game, switching it out, trying to give it some way to survive, to set up speed control for the rest of the match if she so chooses. Choice Band, Urshifu Rapid Strike comes out. Aqua Jets are going to be doing a pretty significant chunk of damage here, no matter to what. It's not going to be doing nearly as much as a Close Combat or Surging Strikes, but that priority, even if Dawei gets Tailwind set up again without Jackson doing so, will result in Urshifu being able to do good damage almost no matter what. We're going to have to see if Jackson wants to go ahead and terrestrialize as well. A Terra Ground Zacian here maybe is not the worst thing in the world, all things considered, but actually not going to happen yet. The Terras for both players are getting saved. We see a Helping Hand going into Dawei's single strike Urshifu. A Sucker Punch comes through onto the Urshifu Rapid Strike on Jackson's side. Not very effective. Aqua Jet takes out the Whimsicott, and now we are going to see if this is a play rough from the Zacian and it hits Urshifu. That is going to be some significant damage. It is just going to be a Behemoth Blade. That'll still do a good chunk. Zacian is a strong Pokemon. Urshifu goes down, 2 KOs for Jackson. taking down Dawei to her last 2 Pokemon. Now, we haven't seen them. Tailwinds on both sides are going to be petering out, and we are in a very familiar position for Jackson, where Jackson had Urshifu and Zacian on the field in the previous game, but now Dawei is down 2 Pokemon, does not have Tailwind set up, but once again is having to face down a Shadow Rider Calyrex with a Hearthflame Ogerpon with redirection right next to it. Again, there's no Tailwind. This is a different situation than the last game. Neither player has Tailwind, in fact. And this Urshifu does have Aqua Jet alive and active. Ogerpon Hearthflame doesn't necessarily want to be taking that too many times. But Jackson, if I'm Jackson, I'm still shaking in my boots here. This is what beat me in the last game if I am Jackson. And we do not have too many answers, like I said, to this duo. It could be an Amoonguss. It could be anything that's tanky with redirection with a Calyrex by its side. And Shadow Rider Calyrex can just start racking things up. The Terrestrialization comes out here from Jackson. Is going to be the Terra Ground on the Zacian. Again, Terra Blast, Terra Ground into the Hearthflame Ogerpon is going to be doing a significant chunk of damage. The Zacian already has the +1 attack boost from Intrepid Sword. This Hearthflame Ogerpon, though, is tanky. The Follow Me comes out as expected. And so now we're just going to watch everything play out. Aqua Jet comes in. It is a critical hit, which is huge here. The Astral Barrage comes in next. Again, there are no boosts here. That is just the base damage from Astral Barrage boosted by a Life Orb. Urshifu falls. Zacian is low. That is a Grim Neigh boost coming out, and it is time for Zacian to throw out that Terra Blast. This is almost certainly going to KO this Hearthflame Ogerpon. That Aqua Jet critical hit was huge. Ogerpon falls. It is now 2v1. But if you're a Calyrex Shadow Rider, you like those odds. This Ogerpon Hearthflame can come out. It's low. It can do whatever it wants. The Follow Me doesn't matter here against arguably the strongest move in the game. Astral Barrage is so powerful. It can't miss. It is boosted by Grim Neigh. Follow Me doesn't matter. Protect is just going to delay the inevitable here. And Calyrex Shadow Rider is so dang fast. That is going to be game 2 going over to Dawei C. I mean, the horses are just insanely powerful. We've seen that 2 games in a row now. Calyrex Shadow Rider with the speed and the power when you don't have others, when you yourself don't have spread moves to try to take it out, when it has a redirector by its side, it just dominates games. It just makes things feel hopeless, feel so difficult to manage. And Dawei C absolutely dominated, getting into positions twice where Ogerpon Hearthflame is next to that Shadow Rider Calyrex. Shadow Rider is able to take down one Pokemon, get that boost, and just sweep the rest of the team. It is a scary, scary place to be if you are an opponent facing down either of these horses with just a single boost and a little bit of protection. That said, thank you so much for watching. That's going to be it for today. We've had 2 quick 2-0s. Hopefully once we get to the top 8s, we're going to be getting some longer sets, some longer series. But in Reg G, where you have these single restricted mons that can pump out so much damage, these games go pretty quick. Until next time, be safe, be smart, make wise decisions, and farewell.